Welcome back to the Nueva Vida Group podcast. And this week we're joined by Emmelia Powell, someone obviously I met a few months ago now. We've sort of gotten really well and really understood each other's businesses and realised there's lots of similarities and typical sort of similar client types that we both work with. And we thought it'd be really worthwhile having you on today to sort of have a good chat and understand more about what you do. So do you want to give us a lowdown on your business and who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm Emmelia. I'm a certified UK financial planner and a director of Premier Wealth Solutions, and that's a family-run independent financial planning firm. And I know we've spoken about having a family-run firm before, and I work alongside my mum, who has been in the advice industry for over 40 years. I don't know if she'd like me to confess that, but over 40 years. And that is a really special relationship to me. And it does mirror a lot what we see in the families and the businesses that we're working with. On the sideline of my life, I have three very little legs, three daughters, and a husband who is a professional footballer. And typically, I'm supporting those in football, in business, and families manage their money. And one of the things that I'm continually talking to clients about in this area of the world is that translation between high income not actually creating stable wealth. And a lot of the people that we're working with earn really, really well, but money is operating in the background and becomes like a dulled noise rather than something that they are really getting to grips with and using as a tool to better their lives. So that sometimes means they're paying more tax. They feel slightly disorganized and overwhelmed with their money, especially where you've potentially got multiple businesses, or as a player, you are moving across multiple jurisdictions. It can get quite complicated. So we're there to help them make sense of it, show them how to keep hold of it, structure it, and grow it to really support themselves.
And we see similarities like you do to your journey with our clients. It's quite a hard thing to sort of go through that process. And actually, we deal with quite a lot of people at the retirement stage, and they're still extremely young. They're mid 30s, mid to late 30s. They've lived an elite professional lifestyle, and now they're sort of at a stage where not reality hits because they're still sort of in that same sports bubble because they're still doing things like TV work and things like that. But actually, they've got a little more free time. They've played a lot of golf, and there's only so much golf you can play. Even for me, I could play all day, every day. But they're sort of at that stage. And what's your experience of that stage of life?
Yeah, and for high earners in either sport or business, you have a real concentrated window. And in that window, I see extreme focus, focus on their performance, focus on the business potentially monetizing with a sale at some point. And again, everything else is just moving in the background. So that transition piece where for a lot of people it catches them off guard because of that focus during the growth and during the elite performance, when it comes round to what's next, it can be really disorientating to start thinking, who am I going to be without this purpose, this identity, this income stream that I've established through what is a short but very successful career.
Mm.
And where a good financial planner comes in is that operational coach between your money and how it can provide you stability as you start finding your feet with another area of interest or business. And allowing you to move into a new chapter with one less pressure, because we all know how much of a burden money can put on us, how limiting it can feel, and how overwhelming it is to manage it. So, anybody I'm working with, even if they're not quite ready to think about that transition piece, I am acutely aware, given it's something I'm experiencing now with my husband, of what it feels like to face that cliff edge and not really know what the next chapter looks like.
Yeah, and I think again we come back to that fact that you've got such a unique experience to be able to help people go through that journey, and we see it ourselves in our business. You know, a lot of people sort of come to that retirement stage of their career, and it can be, especially in business, you know, they've gone through a really stressful, intense. You know, some of our clients, you know, they're really stressful, intense 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, when they get to the later life, and actually they then sort of think, I've always dreamt about having that home. How do I go about it? You know, we see it in our industry. There's not that many reliable people that can provide them with that sort of actually oversight, unbiased, you know, client centric approach. I think, you know, your journey and experience is totally unique, really, and
And
adds so much value.
that family run firm where you're appointing somebody that is going to be a trusted professional, you need that
Mm.
continuity of advice, because if you are somebody that is highly ambitious and likes to be quite creative and explore opportunities, what you need in the background is stability. And I tend to see with other professionals that run family operating firms that the driver behind those firms and the continuity is slightly different and quite beneficial to clients in those positions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, even if we sort of take ourselves out of this and we look at our clients and their family ran firms, you're so right. They're running it with a different perspective. You know, they're looking at what they're doing with a much bigger, longer term view. And that's something obviously you're really good at, is looking at the longer term. So obviously our clients take a longer term view, and you know, we've discussed family, business and family values, and how they take a longer term view when they're running their businesses. What are your sort of long term views on, you know, how people can protect themselves and what they can look to do at any stage in their career?
Yeah, and that is probably one of the most important parts of the piece, and something that our clients definitely are looking to achieve because they've worked really hard for this money and this wealth. So protecting it is essential. Um, and if I just glance back at how much in my personal life has changed over the last 12 months, you start to realize how fast life is moving. And I can work with players that have lived in three houses in one seasons, and business owners that have sold an exit, sold a business and then bought another one in a 12-month period. So some of the blind spots that start to be created when you're looking at protecting wealth is just not having that focus, is not holding yourself to the same level of accountability that you would in your business, that you would in your professional athletic career, to sit down and know your number. And knowing your numbers means knowing what level of lifestyle, what your wealth can do for you, and at what point you won't need to work again. So once you actually have established a bit of a focus, you then know what you need to protect. You then know if there's shortfalls. You then know how to gift with confidence. You then know whether or not you need to sell for 10 million or 60 million. Everything starts to become quite clear. But without that focus, not only protection, but also clarity on what is enough doesn't start to appear. Underneath the lid, there's obviously intricacies of people's finances that don't work as effectively as they can, and they miss. Um, and you don't always have to go to the extreme lengths of protecting it with trusts and complicated structures. Sometimes it's just doing the basics very, very well. So reviewing what you already have, not holding too much cash, using inheritance tax rules where applicable, if that's your stage of life, or using tax allowances through company structures to benefit you and your family. There's lots of different areas, but it's understanding what you're trying to achieve first, because if you don't know what you're protecting.
Yeah, I think that's amazing advice and really helpful. I noticed your social media's got some amazing tips and things on there. It's really impressive. So where can everyone find sort of more information about you, and what's the best place to sort of look you up and have a conversation, discuss sort of your services in more detail?
Yeah, so I post quite a lot on Instagram. My handle is Emmelia_PWS. Amelia is spelled Emmelia, so Emmelia. And I am Amelia Powell on LinkedIn, and our website is just www.pwsltd.uk. And I've got a newsletter coming out, so hopefully that'll be the inner circle for anybody that just needs a bit more than what is shared across socials and just wants to understand the firm a little bit in greater detail how we help.
Oh, I think that'd be great. We'll attach all those details
Oh,
to obviously the podcast, and it'll be on our emailer as well, so our clients will be able to find you on there. But no, I think that's been really good, and I think your unique insight into that experience, offers a huge amount of value. So we're looking forward to working with you.